Yo, welcome to the Outside the Box podcast. I am Jacques Slade. I am the degenerate of the group. I am the bad influence. I am the person you should ignore when you hear this voice, but I am happy that we are back. Took a couple of weeks off, with life things, but we're back. And when I say we, obviously I don't mean me and my multiple personalities. I'm talking about the legendary Tiffany Beers and the legendary Nick Engvall. Nick, go ahead and tell them where they can find you.
Nick Engvall, NickEngvall, across all platforms. I don't know, I'm just happy to be back talking to my two friends here and hopefully going to learn some stuff tonight. But Tiffany, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Well, I have to admit, I'm the reason we were offline. I had to make a trip to Asia, but I'm super excited to be back. I've missed these guys. I've missed you guys. I can't wait to answer your questions, and we need more questions. But my name's Tiffany Beers. I worked at Nike for a while, did some shoes, did some things,
So humble.
Back to Jacques.
So humble. So humble. Like if I wake up early in the morning and make myself breakfast, I'm talking about it on Twitter. You know what I mean? Like you do some amazing things and be like, yeah, I'm just Tiffany. Yeah, and I'll be like, I made breakfast this morning. My eggs had spinach in them. And but all right, we'll go with that. Yeah, you're just Tiffany. All right, well, let's kick this show off with some auto news and sneaker news, which is really up Nick's lane more than it is mine. Nick is a big car guy. For those of you guys that don't know, if you want to talk cars, make sure you hit up Nick, and he'll be able to go back and forth with you. If you hit me up about cars, I'm just going to forward your request to Nick. So don't hit me up about cars. And Tiffany races cars. Okay, so really the other two people on the show. Again, I'm not the one to listen to. It's the other two people on this podcast. I'm just proving my own.
There's a pattern for
proving my own points here. Yeah. I'm saying proving my own point. If you happen to catch the unveil of the Tesla Model Y, which is a crossover SUV, an electric crossover SUV that's supposedly going to be released in 2020, you may have noticed that Elon Musk, the CEO of Tesla, had on a custom pair of Air Jordan 1s. And they were a little bit over the top. Let's see, what does this say? It says they had the company's logo was laser cut and embroidered on the toe box in red metallic leather to match the quarter's bold swoosh. Bold swoosh is a good way to put it. Had a mixture of python and pony hair, and the laces were swathed in a rich Horween leather. It looks like there was leather on the liner as well. Yeah, I mean, they fit. I guess they fit Musk's personality. They were Nick. Who was the guy that designed them? I can't. What was his name?
It was DeMarco Customs, I believe.
DeMarco Customs.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's cool to see customizers getting the opportunity to do this kind of stuff. I think it's it was a little over the top because I guess like Elon Musk, everything he does is over the top. But like he did like this karate thing to show the shoes, which was, I don't know, it was just interesting, I guess. But I think it's cool to see, because I look at it as like, this is kind of just the evolution of the, mainstream influencer world, right? Nike would love to have the product placement. Jordan Brand would love to have the product placement to have this anyway. So it's cool that somebody else got to get in the mix and do something. It might mean that now we'll see, Nike making PEs for Elon Musk in the future. But, regardless of the shoes, like I don't know if I could walk around with like a big logo on the toe box of a brand that I, a car that I drive. But, I also don't own a car company. So I don't know. What do you think about this one, Tiffany?
I mean, all I can do is laugh. This is such a joke. I mean, okay, so he cares about the environment, right? But clearly doesn't care about animals, right? If it's real python and real pony hair and real leather, like, do I need to say more? We don't know if it's real or not, but like if you're in for the environment, be in for the animals too, right?
Yeah.
That's my first comment. I do like what Nick said about the customizers getting some airtime. I like that, but if I were the customizer, I'm sure they said the Tesla logo has to be readable from the ground for the cameras, right?
Yeah.
So you can actually see it. So he had to make it as big as he could, but I don't know. I'm thinking that's not comfortable at all. Not comfortable.
Yeah. So to be fair, it says that these were actually made for Elon's birthday, not specifically for this launch. I guess he just decided to wear them for the launch, is what I'm assuming.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and the karate chop thing was definitely weird. The whole like presentation was a little weird, to be honest. But I guess that's kind of the style of these presentations. But yeah, the shoes, I like the colors. They're supposed to be inspired by the Tesla Roadster, which I get. Like, that's cool. Obviously, that's a cool car. But that logo is just so big on the toe. Like, I would have rather they put the Tesla logo where like the Jordan Wings logo is.
Yeah.
And I think that would have, been a little nicer and I guess a little more classy, I guess. And I don't want to say that to as a reflection of DeMarco's work. He does some really cool customization jobs. But this one, the big Tesla logo just was like a little, I don't know, it was very overt is the word I'm going to use.
I mean, the thing about this is like, this is just the beginning, right? Like, I guarantee you every time we see Elon now, he's going to have a sneaker thing going because he realized he reached a different market and he reached it widely because this was pretty talked about. So this is just the beginning. I can't wait to see who else.
Yeah. and I don't think...
So, wait.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Nick.
I was just going to say, I think, like, I don't know DeMarco personally. I have seen his work before, and I think he does really great work. And I also just noticed, like, after seeing this, I went back to his page and kind of looked around, like, him and his dad are starting their own brand of footwear, which is like all handmade stuff, which I think is really cool. And to have to know that behind this opportunity is really, really awesome. The fact that, from what it sounds like, Elon just decided to wear them, for the event. But like going back to like his design and having the Tesla logo be so, like intrusive on the design, knowing that it was made for his birthday as like a gift, you probably never thought that he was going to wear this shoe anyway, right? Like this sounds like clearly a I'm going to make this for it to sit on the desk or on the shelf, like when I was at StockX, we did the same thing for Dan Gilbert. We made him a pair of Air Zoom Generations to kind of celebrate the launch of StockX, and had a couple of customizers, one from Detroit, one from Cleveland, to make them. So like there's like it seems like there's more of a story to it, but what I think is totally fascinating is like Elon just wearing the shoe. Like the other part of it is that he's not wearing the shoe in like a fashionable way, right? Like he's like, and like people made fun of me for this for years, right? Like I wear jeans over the top of my Jordan 1s a lot of times, right? So like you only see the toes, which in that case, like this design is actually pretty functional to have, like from a branding perspective, right? But like to Tiffany's point, I really think this is just like a can of worms that literally just exploded, and now we're about to see all sorts of stuff with these kind of announcements.
Good effort on the branding play, but I'm not buying it. What I do love about this shoe though is that shoelace. Actually, that shoelace looks amazing. Like it's thick, shiny. I'm wondering if it's leather. Like I'd love to see that shoelace in person. That to me is the star of this shoe right here.
Yeah, that's a Horween leather shoelace there.
I mean, that's beautiful.
In case you're wondering. So here's a quick question for you, Tiffany. From being on like the design side, are things like this, like the shoelaces, is all that stuff kind of considered in like the pricing, or as like what you can include when you do a design?
So help me understand your question. Is the pricing of the lace included in the design?
So if you designed, say, a Jordan 1 and you wanted to let's put leather laces in there. Is that like a decision that you can make, or does that have to go like to marketing or to manufacturing, or like how does that work?
Can I just interrupt and pause real quick? I just find it totally fascinating that Jacques asking the one person who's created self-lacing shoes about shoelaces. Okay, go ahead.
I don't like this negative energy at all.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the real laces. No, I mean, you would. It depends on if it's a performance shoe or not, right? Obviously, you would wear test it, but yeah, the designers spec out what shoelaces in there, and then cost is absolutely a consideration, and then durability and how easy it is to lace and unlace. I think the biggest challenge with changing the lace is actually how hard it is to adjust. Like this one's very thick, so it was probably really difficult to actually get through the eyelets, and it's probably a total pain to actually adjust to your foot, and people don't have much tolerance for that kind of frustration.
Yes, that is an issue that you have with like these, when you get like leather laces or really nice laces on a pair of sneakers. Like the process of lacing them and tying them is definitely a bit of an issue, and I can see that being
yeah, that makes total sense.
Like from a brand side being like, nah, like it looks great, and it but the difficulty or the problems that it's going to cause for the consumer is not worth it. So that makes sense. Oh well.
Yeah, I mean, I think just laces is an interesting topic. We could probably do an entire podcast on it. But when oval laces finally came out, like oval, that shape comes untied less, right? So that's why a lot of performance shoes, you see oval laces in them, where a round lace really will come untied pretty quickly. A flat lace is not as bad, but there's people that study this stuff like intensely.
Wow, I didn't even think about the round, oval versus flat laces. We've all learned something today, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you guys hope that was as enlightening to you as it was to me. But let's keep this moving. So there is some more vegan sneakers on the market, which I'm all for, trying to help the environment any way we can. And these are pineapple vegan pineapple, made in collaboration with Pinatex, which I imagine means it's a pineapple textile because, breaking down words here, I feel like I'm learning how to read. A leather alternative made from the leaves of a pineapple plant, a natural and sustainably sourced, cruelty-free material. Mercer Amsterdam is the first brand in the luxury sneaker segment utilizing the specific type of leather alternative, looking to further expand its options in the future. So this basically, the shoe is made from the fibers from the leaves of the pineapple plant. Looks like the leaves are actually discarded when from the pineapple harvest, so the raw material requires no additional resources to grab. They're bought from the farmers in the Philippines, and the tanning, additionally, it says the tanning of Pinatex consumes low water use and low production waste, containing no harmful chemicals or animal products, which is very interesting. It says, let me see, keep reading here. Microfiber textile gives the sensation of real leather, but is in fact a microfiber that is 100% breathable, giving total dryness with thermal cool control for optimal comfort. On Steam is made from a fully durable and environmental point of view, using no real leather and or damaging chemicals in the process. So, just quick question here for you, Tiffany. It says a microfiber textile, which gives the sensation of real leather. Could you explain that in layman's terms?
Well, so a microfiber means kind of if you break it apart, micro and fiber. So it's a fiber that's short, right? So it's a very small fiber. And really all of these words, it doesn't actually define it well enough to really know what they mean. But a textile, is a fabric, which means it's man-made. It's not made of natural materials necessarily. And that's not even true in all cases. So the fact that they say it has the same properties as leather, I'm curious as to exactly what properties they're talking about. So I don't think I can actually answer your question because it's just it's too vague, to be honest. But I love I love all of this. Like, this is all awesome. But as I've mentioned a few times before, I love the renewable materials on the front end, but tell us how you recycle it. Tell us how you dispose of it, because that's really our bigger issue right now, is disposing of shoes versus the renewable materials. So is it recyclable, or is it edible, or, being made out of pineapple? I don't know. But I do love the fact that they've tried to make mango leather and strawberry leather too. I mean, I wonder if these smell like pineapple. I mean, that'd be pretty cool. But they said they tan it, which tanning is leather tanning in particular is a pretty intense process. You can look up YouTube videos on it. It's very intense, so I'm curious to see how they're actually tanning the pineapple. It's fascinating.
Yeah, and then just to be clear for the audience, like, it's the pineapple leaf, which is not the thing that we eat. I don't think those are the same thing. Maybe it's just the top that they usually break off, the little leaves that they break off at the top of the pineapple, I'm assuming. Again, obviously, my knowledge of the physical structure of a pineapple is super deep. So, made that clear. Hopefully, everybody understands. But I think it's cool that they are using these sort of materials to help with the environment and trying different things and looking at different options. It seems like a lot of this sort of stuff is happening a lot in the luxury market, and I kind of wonder what that is all about. Is it just because this stuff is obviously, I guess now it's more expensive to produce just because it's so new, but it seems like this stuff always kind of comes from a luxury angle as opposed to like an everyday sort of angle. Although, I mean, Nike does some stuff, but like the food leather stuff or like the plant leather stuff seems to be coming all from the luxury market, which is super interesting to me. I don't know.
I mean, I think part of it is that
right.
you have like, this perception that the luxury market is the person that's going to pay the extra for that initial cost of new product, right? Or new stuff. This particular company, Mercer, did the NASA shoe we talked about, last season. But I think too, like the vegan thing to me is, I wonder how, after talking with Tiffany about this, so many times, I wonder how how we are going to shift from what it's made out of to how it's recycled. That seems to be that's a huge question, because this particular shoe is really interesting to me. Like, if it was something that I came across in a store, 250 euros, so that's like $300+ for a shoe, but thankfully they don't make my size, so I won't be tempted. But I think that kind of like sales pitch, I guess, in the luxury space is a little bit, I don't know, it sounds superficial to say it, but it seems like that's more of a thing that people want to just be able to go out and say that they're doing, rather than buying something that they know can be recycled easily or turned into something else easily, and it actually is impactful, on the long run for the environment. It seems like it's more of just a marketing ploy, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, because you have Allbirds, right? And they do the exact same thing. Renewable materials, $95 for a pair. I mean, they're not the high price point brand. And they're doing it over and over again. They have the tree shoe, the wool runner, the sugar sandal thing. I can't remember the name, but yeah, I mean, this is gonna get old soon, I think. I think maybe word is out. I don't know. I hope we can spread it more with this podcast, that it's more about how you recycle it than it is what you make it out of. And we got to get people to start kind of focusing on that, and even hyper focusing on it, because you're still going to see a pineapple in the landfill.
So here's where I would argue that most people, because they don't, I don't know if they know enough or if they just don't care, they would probably assume that because this shoe is made out of pineapple, that it's not going to end up in a landfill somewhere, that it's going to biodegrade at some point. Like even me, so like before you told us, Tiffany, like the corn shoes, I would assume that, these, eventually they'll fall apart and they'll be biodegradable. Like once you get them done wearing them, they'll just fall apart. You just hear that there is a food or a plant, plant-based that I think the public perception is like, or maybe it's just my perception and I'm just being totally ignorant here, that it's biodegradable. I don't think they think that, they made it out of corn, but this is going to last. This is going to be in a landfill for 100 years. I don't think people think that way.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's still a level of education to go. And at the same time, I'm looking at Pinatex right now, which is the company that makes the fiber and it basically makes the material. And they do say it's a cradle to cradle material. And so short of Wikipedia and cradle to cradle, but that means it's recyclable.
That's awesome.
Whether it's recyclable in our current recycling system then becomes the next question, right? And I think we talked about this a few times. Like, sure, a lot of things can be recycled if you take them apart enough, but most consumers aren't going to do that, right? They know cardboard, glass, and trash. Some areas do more, but if it doesn't fit in one of those bins, it's not getting recycled.
Yeah, and I would say too, like, I do think that it's still important that we're thinking about, cruelty-free options, right? Like, I just think that, like, at this point, like, we don't have to, like, give up, like, so much land, just personal belief, but, like, you don't have to give up so much land to raise cows for every product that we make, or, whatever that is. Like, just having other options and people exploring things is still a step in the right direction. But it is awesome if this is something that can be, recycled. I don't know about, like, the whole... Because obviously with the Pinatex, they're talking about, I'm assuming, the upper, right? Like the outsole, midsole seems to be more of traditional material, but...
Yeah, they didn't really mention it. I didn't see they mention the midsole.
Oh, yeah, and that's I didn't even think about that. See, again, I'd have been like, yeah, it's pineapple. They make it out of the leaves. Yeah, that's going to help the world. But then the rubber outsole will just be, floating in the ocean somewhere. So there you go. Tell you how much I know. And this is why they have Tiffany and Nick on this podcast, because otherwise I'd tell you guys, go buy the pineapple shoes. It'll help the environment, lower your carbon footprint. This is how we help America.
I guess I have a question. I have a question for you, Tiffany. And I don't know if you know too much about this, but tanning, like, I've heard the same thing where it's just like it's a total strenuous process for the creation of leather and that finish that it gets. But this is kind of interesting, that saying that the Pinatex consumes low water use and low production waste with no harmful chemicals or animal products in the process of tanning that, pineapple leather. Is that's not like... Is that something that can be replicated, in your opinion, on other types of leathers?
Well, so it is, right? So, like, there's other cleaner ways to tan leather now, and I, off the top of my head, can't remember, but I do recall Nike having, it's like part synthetic, part leather, I can't remember what they called it, but there are improved processes for tanning leather, and yes, exactly what they mention in here. It's no dangerous chemicals, no animal waste, things like that. Those are originally, when leather was tanned, you got to think about it. It's a skin off an animal. If you just let the skin sit there, it's going to smell pretty bad and have some other side effects. So you have to do a lot to get it basically dried out and treated. So it's very intensive process to make that happen. And then if you think too, right, like a cow bumps up against a fence with the the sharp things and gets a big cut. That's now a mark in the leather, right? I mean, this is a little bit gross, but that's a mark in the leather. That has to be cut out. People won't use that, right? So people like really perfect leather. It's just like the vegetables in the grocery markets. They're all like in perfect shape or form, or people won't buy them, right? Which is ridiculous. But so leather goes through that also. And then, that when you buy leather, you're buying it by the yard or the meter. So, and then the quality of it. So if there's like, you know, the weird little short pieces from the legs or some weird thing in the leather, then that all gets cut off to basically make as shapely usable as possible. So you end up with a lot of waste. So yeah, I mean, leather tanning is improving, but probably a majority of leather items that you own today are from the kind of bad chemical processes and waste and all kinds of stuff. I visited a leather tannery one time, and it was, I still have visions of what I saw there. I still have memories, very, very strong memories from it. It was it was fascinating, and it's an old process. Tanning leather is an old process, so it's like, how did they figure that out? You know, like that's what always blows my mind, is like how they figured that out back in the day. And so it's really
I used to watch, you know, I mean, I still watch a lot of, like, going back to the start, like automotive stuff, and one of the most fascinating like series back, I don't know how long ago it's been, but like when Discovery Channel did all of those, like American Chopper, American Hot Rod, all those things, a lot of those guys are making, like, you know, they're hand making so many of those, like, leather interior pieces or leather seats for a Harley or something like that. And just watching that process was fascinating to me. So I can only imagine, like, in person.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, there's great YouTube videos on it. And you have to keep in mind, there's vegetable tanning. There's, you know, I think a lot of the chemical side is chrome tanning. And that all impacts the durability of the material too, right? So as you get to more environmentally friendly processes, the durability sometimes goes down, right? Because you're not impacting it in the same way. So I'd love to know more about the tanning process of this pineapple, especially the leaves, because the leaves are quite small.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to picture how they tan those small leaves. Like, are they splitting them in half? Like, do they have some super giant pineapple leaves that they're using? But, you know, because if you think of a cowhide, it's actually quite large compared to a pineapple leaf. Yeah. So their process must be quite different. I bet it's fascinating. I hope they drop a video of it.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
So after this podcast, I'll definitely be looking up tanning videos, because I had no idea. I honestly had no idea, and you guys have totally, like, changed my perspective on, like, maybe this is something that I should be paying attention to and looking.
I mean, now that you said that too, not to cut you off, but now that you said that about, like, the leaf size, right? Like, it's really interesting that it's all, you know, like, pineapple leaves, if I remember correct, I'm guessing they're using the leaves from the plant/tree, whatever, that are, like, the long, thin, you know, like, they might be 6 inches at max width. So that means, like, for a lot of pieces, it seems like they'd be, it just seems like a crazy amount of work.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to Pinatech's website, you can see some images from it, and you can see, like, the fibers that they're pulling out of these. It's pretty interesting, and you're right. The leaves that they're showing in some of the images now, they don't say specifically that that's what they're using, but the leaves are much bigger and longer. So, fascinating process, no doubt. Like, cheers to Pinatech for developing such a cool process.
Okay, now I see it. So if you guys are listening to the podcast, when you have a chance, go to Pinatech, just search Pinatech in Google, and it'll take you to their website, and you can get a better idea of what we're seeing right now. It looks pretty interesting, and they do a lot of different things. Looks like they're doing shoes, they're doing bags, looks like they're doing dresses and apparel. So footwear and apparel, bags, watch bands, all of this from the pineapple strands or fibers. Looks like they're doing car seats.
Yeah,
furniture.
We'll link.
So they're doing.
We'll link to it in the YouTube and on Instagram when we post this episode on Instagram and on YouTube. So I'll put it in the description.
Also,
that is fascinating.
Before we walk away from this, it says right on their website, it was developed over 7 years of R&D. Right?
Yeah.
That's a long time. I mean, the auto lacing took more than 10 years. So a lot of time and effort has gone into making this, which is, you know, now it makes sense why they're at the higher price point, right? The cost that's probably gone into this is way more than we actually think. So it makes me want to get a pair now to support them, right? Because I think it's worth it.
That's awesome.
That's crazy. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I gotta really look into this now. First, I gotta look up the tanning videos because you guys have me like super curious about that. And then I'm gonna look this company up, find out a little bit more information about them. It's really cool. That's awesome. That's cool. All right, so now let's switch gears a little bit. Although we're still going to be talking about sneakers, it looks like Under Armour hired a new design chief, and this is an interesting one for me, just because I feel like a lot of the conversation in the sneaker world is that Under Armour they're a good brand, but they just don't have the right designs. So it looks like they're hiring a new chief designer who I imagine I hope is going to introduce maybe like a new design language. And, you know, I feel, in Tiffany, correct me if I'm wrong here, I feel like the chief designer, or whoever is like the lead designer at a company is the one that kind of sets the tone for what designs are acceptable or what style is sort of acceptable and how malleable things can be. So for Under Armour to hire someone in this position, it seems like seems like Kevin, I guess in this situation, Kevin Plank, is really ready to possibly shift how his company views design or how they design things. It seems like someone in that position would come in and almost can change the direction of a company's design language. I would hope that they wouldn't bring someone in like this to do the same thing that they're already doing, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, keep in mind, I wasn't a designer and I didn't work in the design org. I worked very closely with designers. So from my perspective, yeah, a CDO like this, chief design officer, he's going to come in and implement a new direction and maybe a new way of working, right? But he's still an executive, right? So he's going to be managing people, right? He's going to be more inspiring and working with the people. So you're right that I think he probably will adjust the direction if it's needed. But from my experience, you know, the CDO is going to help set the direction, but not down to each shoe and not down to each design. I don't believe they should be working at that level, right? They should be inspiring their designers to follow a new ethos or a new like vision. Like, are they going to go after space and NASA and that type of thing? Or are they going to go after natural materials, or, you know, like, where are they going to focus on? But what for sure I think you will see, but it'll take a few years to see his impact, right? Because if you think about the shoes that are being designed right now, we're not probably going to see those for a year to 18 months. So we won't necessarily see his impact until then. But I think it's more about people, right? And building an org and making sure your org understands the direction and is driving towards it, and they're inspired and they're excited. And, you know, there's a lot of young designers out there and a lot of great designers, and they want to go to work every day being super inspired. I'm excited for Casey. I worked with Casey at Nike. This like I said, when you guys mentioned, I was like, what? That's amazing. Cool. So this is super exciting.
Yeah, and just to be clear, the guy, and I haven't said his name, but his name is Casey Jarvis. He used to work at this company, an outdoor brand called Black Diamond. He was the vice president of product and design, I should say, for Black Diamond. And prior to that, he worked for Nike and General Motors, among a few other companies. And it looks like his job is going to be, he will be responsible for design teams across all product categories and regions, and will incorporate athlete feedback and global trends into future product concepts. That was very corporate. But it does speak to what Tiffany just said, though. It says he will be responsible for design teams across all product categories and regions, not designs specifically. So he'll be, again, you know, what Tiffany said, he'll be managing people and hopefully inspiring them to create crazy and incredible product, not actually designing himself, which is something different entirely. I guess, and then that kind of leads me to the question, and I'll toss this one to you, Nick. Do you feel that it's really just design that's the thing that's holding Under Armour back?
I think that Under Armour's logo is terrible. But I don't think that that's the only thing. I think that, you know, they've struggled to have like a consistency across a lot of their footwear product, right? Where you see the memes online, right? You see like a picture of an Under Armour shoe with a swoosh on it, and it's like, okay, well that's better than the Under Armour logo. But taking that a little bit further, right? Like when they first came out, I'm going to talk about basketball shoes specifically because I feel like their running shoes have not really had too much change in probably a decade, other than like the hover stuff. The hover stuff I think is like their first like got it right all across the board approach to things, because it just like had this like whole vibe across all of the like categories. But what was really interesting is like they had early basketball stuff. They had like a very like, I just call it smooth style, right? Like a lot of the shoes had a very like Jordan 11, Jordan 12 look and feel to them aesthetically. And you know, that worked out well, I guess, for at that time, because it was like the first time we were seeing Under Armour product on the basketball court on the pros, right? And then it kind of like it held that for maybe 3 or 4 years, and that was right as they were launching the product. But then as the product launches, they kind of went to this like they had, you know, the micro G cushioning, which was great, but then they had like this like they had, you know, the anatomic spawn thing that was like completely different from the previous year's micro G stuff, and like it looked like there was no consistency or connection to it. Like, and I think that's something that, you know, hopefully the quote in here is like CEO Kevin Plank promises nothing less than as a design revolution. To me, that is like making sure, you know, and, you know, I don't know Casey personally, but I think that as a leader, like in that space, coming in and saying like, we just need to have some connectivity between these so that people can look at a running shoe and know that they can find a basketball shoe that has a similar vibe to it. Not necessarily all the same, but at least across a certain amount of them, so that you can have your crazy shoes, right? But like, if you think about like, Under Armour had like, you know, like early Steph Curry shoes before he had a signature, right? Like those crazy high tops, like where it was like, well, is this like a boot or a skate shoe, or what's going on here? So I'm hoping that actually, you know, that's what they're thinking, and their, you know, direction will be from it, because I feel like that was where they just always seem to have struggled to have like consistency. You might find one that looked really good, you know, and obviously all of that is very like opinion based, but there's definitely nothing that like you could connect the dots. And I would say that primarily that only works when you're, you know, talking about the original Jordan line, right? From like ever since then, people want that familiarity that comes with, oh yeah, it looks like a, you know, Nike shoe, or it looks like a Boost shoe or Adidas shoe, whatever.
So I'm going to push back a little bit on something you said. Question: is Under Armour's logo really? Is it bad? Is it like, I feel like that I hear that a lot. People say that the Under Armour logo is bad. Is it that the logo is bad, or is it just that we're so used to seeing Nike and Adidas and the way that those logos are styled that we just haven't come to accept what we get from Under Armour as far as that logo looks?
That's a great question.
Go ahead, Nick.
I mean, personally, I think that if you look at the way that logo, you know, from the beginning of Under Armour, right? They made literally Under Armour. They made underwear for performance-based underwear, right? Like performance-based shirts, like, you know, all performance, like apparel, that the logo was not as important on that product because you're wearing it under everything else that you're going to wear to go out and play whatever sport that you're participating in. And I think that from a from an aesthetic perspective with footwear, there's something about movement and having a flow with a logo that is just subconsciously attractive to us as human beings. And this is just totally my opinion. But if you look at like Nike, you look at the Reebok Vector logo, you look at Asics. I wouldn't even put Adidas in there because Adidas, personally the logos are very like just bland to me. I think the Trefoil logo is really dope, but as a like lifestyle thing. But like the brands that that the logos look like they can have motion in it, to me, I associate that with performance. I don't know why. And hopefully I'm not the only one, or maybe it's great that I'm the only one, but that's where the logo comes in. It looks very, very, very stationary, very like stuck, in my opinion. How about you, Tiffany? Yeah.
Tiffany, what were you going to say?
Well, so I think I'm not a logo expert by any means, but when I first saw the Under Armour logo, I instantly thought Hurley. Because it's an H, like, even though it's a UA, but, like, it's so similar to the Hurley logo. So I just Googled both, and you look at them side by side, and I think you're right, Nick. There's a flow to the Hurley logo. And nothing crosses. Like, no lines cross. And I think, like, if you look at even cursive, like, when cursive is done well, it's very careful how lines cross. And I think how the U and the A crosses is, I don't know, it's abrasive for some reason. Like... It also, this, I think the second thing that from working in shoes you look at is like, is the logo have any function? I mean, as an engineer even, does the logo have any function? Because I have to put it on the product. So if it has a function, that's better. So for example, like Adidas is 3 stripes. Effectively, you're adding that extra material, which is extra reinforcer, if you will, if it's leather or, depending on what you use. So it actually sort of has a function. The swoosh, not maybe as much. But so to me, the Under Armour logo could have a total function to it, right? If applied correctly. But to me, they just kind of slap it on the side of the shoe as big as they can. And, I don't love it at all. I don't at my core believe that a logo can ruin a brand though. But... It probably can. I just think it's disappointing because logos are hard.
And I think the good example in the Under Armour world for this is like the public opinion on like Steph Curry stuff has always been so much higher once he got his signature stuff, right? And if you think about it, they replaced the Under Armour logo on almost all those shoes with the SC30 logo. That logo looks fast. That logo looks beautiful. It's the perfect blend of his initials and his number. And like, to me, maybe this is my nostalgia kicking in, but that logo looks like it was something that Nike would have done. And it has that like player exclusive, like, let me really rep my favorite player by supporting this logo. And the fact that they went almost 100% with the exception of like the outsoles, I think still have the UA logo underneath, and obviously it's probably on the tongue on a majority of them. I can't remember off the top of my head, but exterior wise, the most visible logo on Steph Curry's shoe is the SC30, and I would argue that regardless of his persona and his fame and popularity, those shoes are the most well received from Under Armour's basketball line.
Got it.
It is a beautiful logo. The SC. It's just really
they did a really great job of that.
Flow is a good word. I'd love to know what our listeners think. Like, is it the logo? Yeah. Is UA? Is it the logo? Do they not like the logo either?
Yeah, let us know. Tweet us at Outside Pods, or leave us a comment on Instagram. That's also at Outside Pods. Or if you're watching this video right now, head on down to the comments and leave a comment there. Otherwise, just hit us up on Twitter. That's a very interesting conversation because I hear that a lot. I always hear people like, "Oh, the UA logo sucks. The UA logo sucks. UA logo sucks." But this was the first time I've really heard anyone really explain it in a way like that. It doesn't flow. And hearing that, you get it doesn't flow, but it does work for underwear or undershirts or whatever. Like the whole locking U and A, like locking you down on the inside, underneath, like that whole UA style logo works for that. But outside of that, you're just like, oh, all right, maybe that is why it doesn't work for shoes. And like, it's kind of a block when it comes to sneakers. It's more, you see it more as a block as opposed to like a line that complements the lines of the shoe. It kind of works counter to the lines of a shoe. So it's interesting. It's interesting. So yeah. If you guys are listening, let us know what you think. And keeping with the whole Under Armour thing, I want to talk to you guys about the world's most reputable companies, because one would assume that certain companies are at the top and certain companies are at the bottom, but it looks like that's actually switched up just a little bit. So for the number one company, at least in the sneaker category, is actually Adidas, and they're at number 4. There's Rolex, Lego, the Walt Disney Company, and then Adidas, and that is a big deal. And so here, and to kind of put this in perspective as well, this is the world's most reputable companies. I think if this was the U.S., this list would probably be a little different, but this is the world, and Adidas sits at number 4, and Microsoft sits at number 5. Again, I would not picture that. I would imagine that Apple would be ahead of Microsoft, but they are not. Coming in at number 15 is Nike, right behind Google and right above Visa and Rolls-Royce. So it's a really, I guess it's a really interesting look at, I guess, how sneakerheads and sneaker culture look at companies, and how the world at large looks at companies. I just never imagined that Adidas would be above Nike, in, especially with the sneaker world. But when you think about Adidas and their imprint over the rest of the world, I guess it really starts to make sense. Adidas is really a big deal overseas. Like, Nike is huge here in the U.S., but I think Adidas probably runs the rest of the world. Am I wrong about that?
I mean, I would say that, yeah, that's probably a big part of why this is, why Adidas is higher up on this. I'm still surprised that Nike isn't higher, at least higher than 15, but it's actually insane to think that Apple's 57. I don't know. That's so far down. I have a hard time thinking of like 56 companies that are more reputable than Apple. But maybe that's just me being a fanboy. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll say my fan card is out. There's lots of other companies on here too. Starbucks is at 96. That's pretty low to me. eBay is at 94. That's kind of low to me as well. As a camera guy, I'm excited to know that Canon is at number 7. Sony is at number 6. So that's right up my alley from a camera guy. Netflix is at number 9. So that's I imagine that's a pretty new entry. And thinking about that, Netflix looks like to be one of the few, what I would consider new companies on the list. I don't see anyone else that's relatively new that's on here. Kellogg's is at number 33. Shout out to cereal. I'm all about that life.
Well, how about number 16, Visa? I mean, that one's super weird to me, right? They make credit cards, right? They give you money, I guess, when you need it. But everybody else above them has a product, whether it's software or physical product. And then Visa rolls in there, which is, I think that's super interesting. I mean, they're right above Rolls-Royce, which
is, yeah. And then to follow that up, MasterCard is at 35, and I don't even see American Express on here. And I would assume that American Express would be higher than both Visa and MasterCard. It seems that, but maybe I'm looking at the list in the wrong way. Maybe I'm looking at this, in some way. So let me see. So to determine the list, they surveyed more than 230,000 individuals in 15 countries. Companies considered typically have revenue in excess of $50 billion, a presence in all surveyed countries, and brand familiarity with at least 40% of the general population. Yeah, so I would assume American Express meets that. That criteria.
Maybe Visa's just.
Maybe they don't.
I mean, Heinz.
Wait, where's Heinz on there?
Sorry, Heinz is. Heinz 58th, Apple is 57th, and Heinz ketchup is one spot more reputable, one spot least reputable. You know, so if you read up or further in this article, it talks about, you know, it's all about your reputation, right? The reputation based on the stats you gave us there of the demographics and amount of profit and everything, Jacques. So it's like, okay, if it starts to make more sense, right? If you think about scandals, like sexual scandals, or like, did a company stand up for some of these social issues or not? Like, I think the ones that chose to make a stand, or like Lego is super diverse. Like Lego is play and everybody, you know, like, I think you can start, if you read further up in the article, you can start to see why some of these companies at the top are there and why some other ones are more towards the bottom. And made a stand or not, it might have worked for you, might not, but this is absolutely fascinating. Like, if you compare this to the most innovative companies and some of these other lists, like, I think it really starts to show what companies are really trying to make the world a better place.
Definitely.
That's an awesome way to look at it. That's an awesome way to look at it.
And I stole that out of the article. They actually say that.
Oh. Well, I'm going to act like you said it, and I think that's a good place to end the podcast today. And I'm going to end that with asking you guys, what do you guys think is the most reputable company? Let us know at Outside Pods. And what do you think is the most innovative company? Let us know at Outside Pods as well. That's on Twitter, on Instagram, and also you can find us on the YouTubes at that as well. Good show, you guys. Good show. We covered a lot of topics. Reputable companies, pineapples, and Elon Musk's custom Jordans with a giant Tesla logo on them, and some movement at Under Armour. I really hope this is a big change for Under Armour. I fight for the underdog. I still consider Under Armour the underdog, and I always want them to do well. So hopefully they get this together. Hopefully Casey can step in here and change some things for UA. But anyway, this is the Outside the Box podcast. Thank you guys for coming back and listening. We know we were gone for a while, but we're happy to be back, and we'll be here every week. And we're happy that you guys are listening. I am Jacques Slade. You can find me at Cousteau all over the internets. That's Kustoo. That's Instagram. That's Twitter. That's Snapchat. That's Bumble. That's Grindr. That's Amazon. All of those places you can find me. But this show would not be what it is without the other two individuals here. And I say that, and I mean that. I know I joke around about it a lot, but these two bring so much to the show. And really, you wouldn't want to listen to me just ramble on for an hour. So that's why I have them here, because they really make this show what it is.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. And also the same to both of you. I just really enjoy these conversations. But you can find me at Nick Engvall, NickEngvall on all platforms, or at Sneaker History on all platforms as well. And like I said, I'm just love learning and discovering new things on this show from Jacques and Tiffany. Tiffany, go ahead and let them know how they can find you.
Tiffany Beers, you can find me on Instagram and YouTube, and also probably Outside the Box more than anything these days. But I'm so excited to be back and chatting with these guys. Like, who gets an hour of Jacques Slade's time? I mean, on a weekly basis, right? Like, me and Nick are pretty lucky.
Very much so.
Wow. We need to get you back making some videos, Tiffany. I know you're busy and stuff, but we need to get you back making the sneaker videos. You are definitely missed in the sneaker culture.
I know. I got to figure out which shoes to do next. That's the big problem. I got to come back big.
Got to come back big, come back strong. I appreciate it. I want you back. That's for sure. All right, guys. Thank you guys for listening. If you have anything you want us to cover, if there's some relationship advice you need, I am always available to you. Can't end the show without that, because that's really the most important thing. I'm going to get out of here, go get me some food. But before that, I got to watch these tanning videos. You guys have a great day if you're listening, and I'll see you guys soon. We'll see you guys soon. Peace.